let us continue. Come on. Sixth Mishnah in Pirkei Avos. We're talking about all sorts of number tens. Tens. Remember what we've done up to now? The first Mishnah in this parak talked about the 10 utterances that God created the world from. Then we went to the 10 generations from Adam until Noah, and 10 more from Noah until Abraham. Then 10 tests of Abraham, the 10 tests that Abraham get. That's what we talked about before. Then the 10 miracles that were done to the Jews, for the Jews in Egypt, and 10 on the sea. And 10 difficulties that the Jews made for God when they were in the desert. 10 miracles that happened in the Holy Temple. Remember, we learned that? And now we are on today's. 10 things were created be'erev Shabbos, bein hashemashos, right as the sun was setting. In other words, Shabbos did not come in yet, 100%, just beginning, and the week did not go out yet. The Elohen, and these are Pia Oretz, Pia Be'er, Pia Aton. The mouth, the hole in the ground, right? Remember Korach? The mouth of the well, remember Miriam's well? The mouth of the donkey, Bilam's donkey. Akeshet, Haman, Vahamata. The rainbow, the manna, and the staff. The rainbow that Noah saw, the man that fell for the Jews in Egypt, in the desert, and the mata was the staff, Moses' staff. Hashamir. Hashamir was this worm that was used to carve out on the breastplate, whatever, we'll see. Akatav v'amichtav v'haluchot. The writing, the style of writing, the form of writing, we'll see what this is. And also the tablets that God gave Moses. We're going to see what all these things are. Some people say also the mazikin, these demons and things like that. There are such things like that. Demons and what is it? Spirits. The burial place of Moses, says nobody knows where Moses is buried. Some people say the ram that Abraham found to replace Yitzchak. Remember, Abraham took his son Yitzchak to sacrifice him? How old was Yitzchak? When he took him to sacrifice him? 37 years old. Abraham was 137. So the ram of Abraham that he sacrificed in the place of his son, right? The angel came down and told Abraham, don't kill your son. And there was a ram. Yeshomi, some people say also the tzvat, but tzvat asuya. Also the first, what do they call it? Tongs? Pliers. But, how do silversmiths, how do goldsmiths, how do ironsmiths, how do they work? They take pieces of iron and they get them red hot and they pound on them until they make shape, right? How do they hold on to these pieces of iron? How do they hold on? No, good question. They hold on. I don't know. How do they hold on? Maybe a piece of wood or something like that. No, the wood will burn up. How do they hold on? So this is very simple. They have these iron pliers that hold on to the pieces of iron. How did these iron pliers get made? They got made by an ironsmith. How did he hold on to the iron to make these pliers? Obviously, he had a pair of pliers. Where did he get those pliers from? Well, obviously, he got them from an ironsmith. How did he make that? He, pounded them. Who held on to that? They must have also had. So it's very difficult. Well, how do you can't make iron pliers unless you have something to hold on to the metal with. So that's what it says. Tzvat b'tzvat asuya. The first pliers were made by God before sunset, before Shabbat. The world was created in 6 days, right? 6 days, and Shabbat, God didn't create anything. So let's see. What are these 10 things? Asar Devarim, 10 things were created Erev Shabbat. Bein Shemashot. Erev Shabbat. Let's see, maybe I can get good at this here. Huh? Okay. Ready? You can see, there it goes. Erev Shabbat, and Erev Shabbat, Bereshit, the first Shabbat, in Gomer Briat Olam, when God finished the world. And these are the 10 things. Pi ha'oretz, the opening of the ground, the Shabbalah et Korach, that it swallowed up Korach. Number 2, we have 10 things, right? 10 things were created right before Shabbat came in. In other words, they weren't really part of the 6 days of creation. They were just sort of like right in between over there, snuck in. The Pia Be'er, that water, they put out water for the Jews in the desert. And this is the well of Miriam, that it was accompanying the Jews in the desert in all of their journeys. Also, Pi Ha-Aton, the mouth, number 3, the mouth of the donkey. Whose donkey? The donkey of Bilam. Bilam had this donkey. One of the more bizarre stories in the Torah. Bilam had this donkey. Shenigzar alel be'erev Shabbos. It was decreed on Erev Shabbat. 1 second, I stopped. Oh, yours. No. Oh, yeah. It was decreed Erev Shabbat. Be'erev Shabbat bein hashmashot, in the right before evening. Shetidaber in Bilam, that it should speak to Bilam. I'm getting good at this. Here we go. Next, number 4, Hakeshet, the rainbow. Number 4, the rainbow was created. When was it created? Right before Shabbat came in. Ba'anan, the rainbow that was in the clouds, as a sign, as a covenant that there won't be any more destruction of the world, no more floods in the world. Man, number 5 of 10. The manna, Sheyored L'Yisrael, descended to the Jews 40 years in the desert. Number 6, the mata, the staff, the stick of Moshe. She'asa bo'at otot, that he made the miracles. A shamir, number 7. Oh, this one's going to be good. The shamir is this weird worm. Shishtamshu bo b'binyan, they used it to build the holy temple. Lebakat avonim, to crack the stones. The stones. Obo pitchot avnei choshen, and they also used it, especially the stones of the altar. The stones of the altar, you weren't supposed to raise on them any metal. So they used it, they would draw a line, and this worm, where did they keep the worm if it could crack everything open? In glass. It said it couldn't crack open glass. Ubo pitchu et avnei choshen, the ephod. On it also were the stones of the choshen. The choshen was on the shoulders. I'm sorry, the choshen was on the breastplate, and the ephod was on the shoulders, the 2 shoulders. On the 2 shoulders, there were these stones that were put on the shoulders of the breastplate, the shoulders, and it was written on it, 6 of the tribes was on one, and 6 of the tribes was on the other one. Kamosha Omru, like it says in a Braita, in the Gemara Sota. Avanim halalu, these stones, and the choshen and the ephod, and kotvin otam bedio. You should not write on them with ink. Excuse me. And Masartim Alayim, I'm sorry, I don't know why I got that, I'm sorry. Mishum Shenamar, because it says Pituchei Chotam. You didn't write on them with ink, because it says they had to be carved out. Ve'in Masartim Alayim Ve'izmol, so let's carve them out with a iron, whatever, chisel. Nah, can't do that. Because it says, b'milo otam. They have to be complete. You can't chip anything out of these stones. You know what the stones are? On the breastplate, they had the Choshen Mishpat, were 12 stones, one stone for each of the tribes. It's talked about in Parshas, Tetzaveh, in the Torah, in the book of Exodus, Tetzaveh. And there it says that there were these stones, and on each stone, right, was for each of the tribes, and then there were these two big stones on the shoulders, on the shoulders that held the whole thing up, shoulders, and on these were written 6 names here and 6 names here. But the problem is that names could not be carved out. The stones had to be complete. How could you make them complete? You have to carve it out. So it said, what did they used to do? They had this worm called the shamir worm. And Ella Kotev Alayim Bedio, they would make lines on these stones with ink. Umar Alehem Shamir, they would put this shamir worm on it, and the stones would crack on their own. Kita'ina zul, just like a fig that breaks open in the summer. Ve'eno chaser klum, but it's not lacking anything. It cracked open. This okabikazu nivka'u biyamot hagashamim, and this was in the like a bika, like a valley in the winter, in the rainy season, and it's not missing anything. Just cracks open. Okay, then we have the last ones. We have a katav, hakatav, v'michtav. What's a katav and michtav? The tzura ta'otiot, the form of the letters that were carved out on the 2 tablets. And the michtav, it says, kamosh katuv, like it says, v'michtav michtav elokimu, charut al luchot. What's the difference between the katav, the writing, and the michtav, which is the writing? Same thing. What's the difference? It says Mavur, but the Bartanura explains, says that the tablets, you could eat, there were 2 separate tablets, right? Each one of the tablets, you could read it from all 4 sides. Some say only from 2 sides, but nevertheless, it was a big miracle. The katav, that's the Torah that is written in front of us. And the michtav, this is some people say, the Rambam says the katav is the writing that's on the Torah scroll, and the michtav is the writing that is on the tablets. And then finally, the last thing of all of these 7, there's going to be additional ones, but the last one of all these official 10 are the tablets themselves. The first tablets, like it says, Valuchos Maisa Elokim Hema. It says the tablets were the work of God. The handwork of God. The Omer, and it says in the book called Avot to Rabbi Natan, Malamed, this teaches us, Shaluchot Hayuk Tuvim Umunachim B'Shesh Jemei Bereshit. In other words, this means that the tablets that God gave Moses on Mount Sinai, these were there from the beginning of the creation of the world. But that's the first tablets, but Moshe broke those. The second tablets, Moshe himself carved them out. Like it says, Vayomer Hashem Moshe, this is what we read every fast day. Carve out for you these 2 tablets like the first ones. Okay, now we have the Yeshom. Now we have some other opinions that say Yesh Omrim. Some people say also the demons and the spirits, spooky things, the Shadim and the Ruchos, they were created Erev Shabbos Ben Hashemashos. Are there such things? Here it says there are. They were created. That was the story that I told you kids about with the Baal Shem Tov, and they saw these scary faces. And some people also say the grave of Moses was created, the last thing in creation. The grave of Moshe, Kamoshe Katuv, like it is written, V'lo yada ish et kvaroto, no one knew its place. Lo yada ish et kvaroto, no one knows where this grave is. Another one is the Ayalo Shel Avram, the ram of Abraham. Shenigzar alav be'erev Shabbos, Ben HaShemashos, that it was decreed on this ram, Ben HaShemashos. How long did this ram have to wait over there? When was Abraham was born, like in 1,900 years after the creation. And this whole thing of the ram, this was like 137 years after he was created, after he was born. So this is like about 2,000 years after the creation. That's when Abraham took Yitzchak to sacrifice him. And this ram had to wait for 2,000 years. The ram that was caught by its horns in the bush by Akedat Yitzchak. This is the foundation of Judaism, this Akedat Yitzchak. And finally, the last thing was the pliers that the ironsmith uses. There's a name for it, isn't it? There's an anvil, and there's a hammer and an anvil, and the pliers. Huh? Tongs?
Tongs. Tongs.
Right, that's what I thought. Tongs, yeah, that's what I thought. The problem is that in Israel, they have these shoes with all, they also call those tongs, or maybe even in America. They're also called tongs, aren't they? Anyway, tongs, okay. So the tongs, who made the first tong? The tongs were made with tongs. Oh, okay, then who made those first tongs? They were also made with tongs. So it doesn't make any sense. Kolomer at savat, this pliers, eno nasid alabem tzfad acheret. These pliers, these tongs can only be made by means of other tongs. I mean, it's just pieces of iron. You have to make it red hot, and then you have to hold on to it while you pound it. What holds on to it? It has to be other tongs. She'ochazin bo et barzel, you hold on to the iron that's white hot, red hot, that was made red hot in the fire. Makim alav, and you hit on it with a hammer until it becomes a vessel. Who made these first tongs? It must be that they were made from heaven. This was right before Shabbos came in. And they were created Erev Shabbos Ben HaShemashos. Right, Erev Shabbat, right before. Okay, now you can ask yourself, well, come on, why do they have to be so special? God could make them anytime he wants to. Make it on the last day of creation, when he made all the world, when he made man. Make it the first day when he made the ground. The Rambam explains like this. Kol aniflaot kulam, hushmu b'tivei adavorim ahem. All of these things existed naturally from the beginning of creation. Lama yached elu asara. Hari, God created the whole world. What is this so special about these 10 things? Lama mana hamishna davka asara elu mitoch shar kol anisim. All the other miracles. I mean, come on, God made frogs. Can you make a frog? You can't make a frog. God made trees. He made the heavens. He made the earth. That's a bigger miracle than just God making the mouth of the donkey. God created donkeys, right? So he could have made one donkey that talks. These things are so amazingly special that they had to have a special time to be created. What's so special about them? Shem Mufat, at first glance, there's no really big miracle that God put into nature these things that were there before. These are the only things. El Omar, She'elu, these things alone were made Ben HaShemashos. And all of the other miracles that God made, he split the sea, brought whatever, they gave the Torah from Mount Sinai. All the other miracles that there were, Hushemu b'tivei adavorim. Oh, what's that one? I'm sorry. V'shar niflot v'amoftim, they were put there in nature. it developed as time went on. Asher nasubon, berasiyatam techila, when God made them. In other words, when God made the world, Omer al derech mashal, for instance, Shebiyom Sheni, Shenechlach Yam Suf, when God divided the upper world waters from the lower waters, so God said, okay, this is the opportunity that in the future, waters will divide. Kriyas Yam Suf, the Jordan River for Yoshua, also for Eliyahu and from Elisha, says that the sea split for them. On Yom Revi, on the fourth day of creation, when God created the heavens, the sun and the moon, it says Ma'or Gadol. So God put it into nature. Part of it was going to be that when Yeshua was fighting over there, it says Shemesh b'givon dam, that the sun stood still. Right, Yeshua, and also all the other miracles that happened in nature, it was like a condition that God made when He made these things. Tuvia Bolton Yeshiva, Ben Hashemashot, Cain Omer, and also it says in the Midrash, Omer Rabbi Yonatan said, Tanai Hitna Kodesh Baruch Hu Ma'aseh Bereshis. God made a condition with the creation that if the sea would split before the Jews, right, then good. If not, it says I'll take the sea away. There won't be any more sea. But Yasam Hayom Le'etano says that the river returned, the Riyam Suf, the Red Sea returned back to its strength. It says Latanao, God made a condition. Eitan means power, but it also means condition. It says Rami Yirmiyah ben Elazar, Lo imayam bilvad. Not only did God did not make a condition, not only with the Red Sea that it would split, Elim kol mashenivra, everything that was created in the 6 days of creation. When God created everything in the 6 days of creation, 6 days of creation, when God created it, He created it on the condition that it would partake in the miracles that God told him. The frogs, when God created frogs, so He said, okay, I'm creating on the condition that when there's the plague of frogs, you're going to listen to me. Like it says, Ani yadi nato shamayim v'kol tzava'am tziveti, that I spread out the heavens and all the hosts I commanded. Tziveti alayam, I commanded the sea that it would divide in front of the Jews. I commanded the light or fire that it shouldn't hurt Hananiah, Mishael, Azariah. You know, Daniel's 3 friends that got thrown in the fiery furnace. At the Ariot, I commanded the lions that they shouldn't eat up Daniel, right, when he got thrown in the pit. I commanded the whale, whatever, that when it would swallow up Yonah, that it wouldn't hurt him. According to the Meiri is another Rishon that he explains the Talmud and comments on the Torah. These 10 things that are counted here that God created right before Shabbos came in, these are things that the Jewish people are founded on. Hatzlacha v'shlemot emuna. This completes the faith of the Jewish people. And if it wasn't for these things, the mouth of the donkey, the hole that swallowed up Korach, the well of Miriam, etc., the manna, lo yakiom lazot hamuna shabot tachlit hametziut hakavana bria. If there weren't these 10 things, then the faith of the Jewish people would be lacking in some way. As we have to believe that these 10 miracles really did occur and that God did create them. He could have created them whenever He wanted to, but He created them last because they have some sort of a special purpose. That's what it means, Bein HaShemashot. Bein HaShemashot means right in the evening, at twilight. What's this idea of being created right at twilight? Whoa, a second. Excuse me. Sorry. Hu Kaloma, like it says, Tekef Labria, immediately when the world was created, Hitchayevu Mitzara Kabbalah Lamin. Immediately, Jews were commanded to believe in these things. So let's see how these things are connected to our faith. The earth that opened up for Korach, what's that got to do with our faith? That we believe that God punishes sinners. What happened? They all sinned. They went against Moshe. The ground opened up, swallowed them up. We see that God punishes sinners. What about the well of Miriam? What's this got to do with our faith? The well of Miriam, this brought about our faith that God rewards good. These are two very basic things. In other words, God cares. God cares about what we do. If we do good, God is happy. We do bad, God is not happy. Basic faith. Pia Aton, what's the mouth of the donkey of Bilam got to do with our Jewish faith? Remez l'kol inyan Bilam she'eluli hashgachato yitbarech haya ovdim. This hints at all of the enemies of the Jews, that if it wasn't for Hashem helping, we would have been destroyed. Like it says, Imiz Amiz Zacharno Maya it's Balak. Remember what Balak tried to do. Laman dat sitkot Hashem. In other words, as then you will know how good God is, what the amazing good God does to the Jews, that he protects us from our enemies. There was never an enemy like Bilam. Bilam was had the ultimate, whatever it was, C-bomb, right? There's an A-bomb and a B. He had the C-bomb, curses. He could destroy the whole world if he wanted to. And nevertheless, he was helpless against the Jews. That was the mouth of his donkey announced that. The Keshet, what is this, the rainbow in heaven, how is that connected to Jewish faith? Shahaya Tala'ot, it was a sign. Shahaya Hakol Nimcha, everything was wiped out in the generation of the flood. Not everything. Everything was wiped out except for Noah. Why wasn't everything wiped out? Lulei hashgachato isborech, because God directed the whole thing. That's what the rainbow was, a sign that God is the boss and that God caused the flood and that God saved Noah. What about the manna that came from heaven? This is one of the 10 things created right before Shabbos. It's connected to the faith, the basic faith of the Jewish people. She'en safek shelo elo lahem bezulat Hashem yitbarech. Everyone knew clearly that the one providing for them was God alone. 40 years in the desert without stopping. What about the staff of Moses? How does the staff of Moses, what does that got to do with Jewish faith? Remez, this hints at the signs and the miracles that God did in Egypt. And if it wasn't for them, the Jews would have never left Egypt. And they would have been sunk and defiled and sunk in Egypt and lost their faith in God totally. Okay, those things we can understand those are connected to Jewish faith. What about this worm? The worm that used to cut the stones in the Holy Temple, what's that got to do with Jewish faith? Remez al kol klal binyan beit hamikdash. This hints at the whole entire building of the Holy Temple. That's what we're learning about in the morning. Shaya ikar rosh le'inyan hadat. This is one of the main foundations of Jewish faith, the Holy Temple, where we can serve the Creator. Okay, that's pretty good. What about the writing that was on the tablets? The writing that was on the tablets and on the scroll that God gave Moses. What's that got to do with Jewish faith? Lomer, what's the Lomer wants to say, HaKatav Rishon, the first writing, Sheshanean Kiyum Ummah, that on this depends the Jewish people. The Jewish people depend on the Torah. ubezulatam ein ne'oded kanaf. Without the Torah, not a bird cannot move its wings, or open up and squeak. There was nothing in the world would exist if it wasn't for the Torah. Soon the Mashiach will come and fix up the land of Israel, that it will advertise only that. And finally, the last of all these things, well, actually not the last, almost the last, is the tablets, haluchot. In Yanushal Matan Torah, that's the whole idea that the Torah was given, which that includes everything, the Torah. And some people say also the mazikim. Also some people say the, evil spirits. This hints at what? What's the evil spirits? The Yetzer Hara, the evil spirit inside of each of us. That this, b'tzad min tzadadim kiyam olam. That for some reason God needed the Yetzer Hara to create the world. If God didn't want there to be Yetzer Hara, he would have sufficed with the angels. Like it says, Vayar Elokim es kol asher asav hinei tov meod. That God saw everything he made and it was very good. It says, when it said God said it's good, that means the Yetzer Tov. When he said very good, it means the Yetzer Hara. That if it wasn't for the Yetzer Hara, if it wasn't for the evil, selfish, destructive impulse that each one of us has, the world wouldn't exist. Why? Because that's the whole thing, is to defy it and to transform it. That's all the 10. 1 minute, not so fast. There's a couple more. Some people say also the grave of Moses that was hidden from everyone. Migodel Chashash Itpa'er b'Midrashim. It says that the grave of Moshe was hidden because everybody saw if Moshe, they knew where it was, then people would worship Moshe and they would forget about God. And the ram of Yitzchak. This hints at saving Yitzchak. Because of Yitzchak, there was continued the blessing of Abraham in the whole world. The drawing on the Olaham Shecha Devorim, Siruv Gamin Amuna, which is Tzorech Olam, the necessity of the world. And it says that Savat, who made the first pliers, the first tongs, this is the first work that was made without iron. Zulato lo yasem amlacha barzel, that's when work really started, unless you're talking about the Cro-Magnon man or something like that. But that's talking about some guy who lived about 5 million years ago, 3 million years ago, and he didn't have any iron. Only had water, things like that. So, and not only that, it didn't exist. The world was only created 5,700 years ago. So, no more Stone Age and this age. Man was created. Iron was created almost immediately after. It says, who said it? What is it? The Toval Kayan? Called Tophis, this and Barzel or something. That he made, the iron things were made. Here it says they were made on the 6th day before the world was finished. They were iron. So it was the possibility to work in the world. Also, iron can be destructive also. So there's also the idea of our free choice. I know we took a little bit more time than usual, but it was worth it. And we'll go over 5 minutes on the laws of muktzah